Okay, guys, we are going to factor today using the quadratic formula, okay, or the quadratic equation. It's pretty exciting stuff. Okay, so first of all, if you need a different way to factor, I've got a bunch of videos linked over there. Factoring the standard way when there's a number in front here, the box method, difference of squares. Anyways, check out what you need to check out, okay? But quadratic equation. This is when, okay, the quadratic equation like always works. Some of those other ways don't always work. But the quadratic equation is like your secret weapon that will always work when things don't factor beautifully. Okay, so this top one is one that we could use one of our other methods on, but I want to show you how it works with the quadratic equation. Have you been waiting to know what it is? Oh my gosh, here it is. Okay. So we could do it the standard way where we do, 12 times 1 gives me 12. What are two factors of 12 that add to 7, right? And it would be 3 and 4. Okay, you're like, okay, so why are we going to use this? Well, I just want to show you one that works out beautifully, and then we'll look at one that doesn't work out so beautifully down here. Okay, so here we go. All right, maybe you learned the song. Do you want me to sing? Okay, but I did have someone tell me I sing it wrong, so whatever. Like they said I like did the tune weird, but whatever. The letters are right, so that's okay. All right, so it goes x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right. I think mine's better than whatever way other people do, okay? Just kidding. All right, so what the crud does that mean? Let me show you. Okay, so a is whatever's in front of the x squared, okay? So you might be like, there's nothing in front of the x squared. There is an invisible 1 here, okay? So a equals 1. B, have you guessed it, is whatever's in front of the x, so b equals 7. And c, oh my gosh, you probably guessed it, is the one being added or subtracted on the back, so it is 12, okay? Now, we just plug in the numbers here, okay? So, x equals negative b, so negative 7, plus or minus, don't be scared of that, it's all right, the square root of b, again, squared, okay? Make sure if b is negative to put it in parentheses, okay? Minus 4 times a, which is just 1, times c, all over 2a, which is 2 times 1, which is just 2. All right. Does that look scary? Let's make it a little less scary. So let's simplify it. So x equals, we've got still the negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared is 49 minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 12 is 48. Oh, this isn't looking as scary, right? We got rid of a bunch of parentheses. 2 times 1 is 2. Great. All right. So let's continue simplifying. So now we're going to have x equals, I'm just simplifying this further, pieces at a time. Negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 minus 48 is 1 all over 2. Okay, now you're like, now what? Okay, this is where this plus or minus is important because there's two answers, right? When we've been factoring, there's been two answers. So I like to draw little arrows. Okay. Oh my gosh, maybe I'll use different colors. Why the heck not? Just for my visual learners out there and everybody else. Okay, so first I'm going to do the plus. Okay, so I'm going to have negative 7 plus, what's the square root of 1? It's 1, or negative 1. That's why we have the plus or minus. Okay, so plus 1 over 2. Okay, and then I've got negative 7. Oh, I need my other color. That was the whole point. Come on. All right. Oh gosh. Sorry, people. All right. Then we've got negative 7. This is where we're doing the minus. Minus 1, because the square root of 1 is 1, all over 2. Okay. then we just simplify from there, okay? So negative 7 plus 1 gives me negative 6 over 2. Negative 6 over 2 is negative 3. Guess what? X equals negative 3 is one of them. If you're factoring, there's one more step, okay? So then, my orange guys, negative 7 minus 1 over 2. Negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8 over 2, which equals negative 4. So x equals negative 4. Okay, those are my answers for x, okay? But if you want to know my two parentheses, they are x plus 3 times x plus 4. Why did I change the sign? Well, because to get these answers, I set these equal to 0. We're just kind of working backwards, okay? So this is equal to 0, right? And we wanted to know what these two were. We decided we're going to use the quadratic formula, which doesn't give me what's inside the parentheses. It gives me what x is, okay? So if I set these equal to 0, I get x plus 3 equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. Then when I solve, I get the x equals negative 3, x equals negative 4, okay? Which is what we decided the answers were. So this is my answer. The parentheses, you change the sign. That can be a little confusing because in the past you've probably found this first and then this. So just remember you're swapping those, okay? Now let's do one where the answer isn't as pretty. Sorry, guys. Okay. Here we go. Our equation's the same. All right, this is one where you might get this on an assignment and want to factor it the way you've been factoring it, right? So 2 times 1 equals 2. So you're looking for two numbers that multiply to 2 and add to 5. Well, 1 and 2 multiply to 2 and add to 3, and that's it, right? We don't have anything else to work with. So that's when this guy comes to the rescue, okay? You're not done. So this is when this guy is wonderful, okay? So let's go ahead. A is 1. Now, in both these examples, A was 1, but obviously it's not always 1. B is 5, and C is 2. Okay? All right, now let's just plug those in. So, x equals negative b, so negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 2. All right, you might be like, okay, we're not done, hold on. But you might be like, where the heck did the quadratic equation come from? Somebody smarter than me figured it out, okay? That's about all I know, and they're awesome, and we love them, okay? All right, 2 times 1 on the bottom, because a is 1, okay? All right, now we just break it down slowly, okay? Chunk it a piece at a time. So we're going to have x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared is 25 minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 2 is 8. So I've got 25 minus 8 in there. All over 2 times 1 gives me 2. Okay. All right. Continue chunking it down till it's something more manageable. So now we're going to have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 8 is 17. And that's where it's like, crap. 17 square root is not a pretty number. All right. And this is still all over 2. Okay. Now this is where I'm going to write a little extra part. All right. You can type square root of 17 into your calculator. This is what it is. It keeps going, but I just wrote it to here. Now, depending on where your teacher wants you to round, it could look a little different. I figure a pretty normal one to do is the nearest hundredth, which is 2 decimal places. So I rounded this big guy to 4.12. Okay. So we are using the square root of 17 as 4.12. If you use your calculator, you can get it more exact. But anyways, for our purposes today, we're going to use 4.12. Okay? So also, some teachers might want you to leave it as a square root. Okay? In that case, this would be your answer. Okay? You could write it out twice where one's the plus, one's the minus. Okay? Anyway, but we are going to do the decimal. So we're going to have -5 plus 4.12 all over 2. And there's my 1. Oh, I didn't do a different color. Now I'll do a different color. We're going to have -5 minus, sorry, I had my marker in my mouth, 4.12 all over 2. Okay, so same numbers. One is plus, one is minus. Okay, so when I do -5 plus 4.12 divided by 2, I get -0.44. And -5 minus 4.12 over 2, I get -4.56. Okay, so this is what x equals. And x equals. Okay, that is if your teacher wants the decimal answer. If your teacher wants the radical left in there, I just decided we're going to show you what that looks like, okay? Right over here. Hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. So if your teacher wants you to leave the radical in, it can look like -5 plus the square root of 17 over 2. Also, some teachers may even go as far as wanting you to split that 2 apart. So -5 over 2 plus the square root of 17 over 2. Why might your teacher want you to do that? Well, because sometimes you can have something be even more simplified by breaking it up that way. So that could be one. And our other one could be -5 minus the square root of 17 over 2. And then again, you can break that up. Minus the square root of 17 over 2. So if you were to put this in your calculator, you should get that. Same with this and that. It's just if your teacher wants you to leave it with the radical or wants it as decimals. Okay, just however your teacher wants it. Then remember, this is what x equals. So you could write it as your 2 parentheses, either with these pretty guys or with these. Remember, the sign switches. So it would be x plus 0.44 times x plus 4.56. Oh my gosh, is that the prettiest thing you've ever seen? Now, also a side note, if you round it and you go back and multiply these back to make sure you get this, it probably won't be exact because we rounded. But as long as you're close, awesome. Okay. Hopefully we feel okay about this. The quadratic formula, you will use 2 once you get into imaginary numbers. Oh my gosh, it's exciting stuff, guys. Okay, hopefully you can get your homework done and go to bed and have dreams of math and art nightmares.